What the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Pause and really ponder that for a moment. If this is true, and Napoleon Hill proved throughout his entire life that it is, then why aren't you living the life you envision every day before you sleep? Perhaps it's because, like most people, you're trapped by old habits, ingrained fears, and a self-image that no longer serves you. Today, you're going to learn a powerful technique inspired by Hill's decades of study to completely reshape your mind and start transforming your life, beginning today. Napoleon Hill observed, over more than 20 years of interviewing men like Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, and Andrew Carnegie, that they all shared a common turning point, the moment they made a definitive, no-turning-back decision, one that severed any possibility of retreat. This is precisely where transformation begins, when an individual decides there's no longer a path back to their old self. Most people spend their lives waiting for the right moment to act. They wait for a raise, a diploma, family support, extra money, or a sign from the universe. And while they wait, the years silently pass, eroding dreams and extinguishing confidence. But Hill learned that there is no perfect moment. There is only the moment you decide that now is the time. And that decision is the beginning of everything. Think about how many times you've started something with excitement, believing this is it, only for doubt to creep in a few days later. You start thinking, what if it doesn't work out? What if I waste my time? What if I fail? This internal conversation is the voice of fear, trying to convince you to stay in the same place, the safe place. But fear doesn't disappear when you wait, it merely changes form. The fear of acting transforms into the fear of never having tried, and that, perhaps, is the most paralyzing fear of all. When Hill wrote about the power of decision, he said that the human mind is like an army awaiting orders. As long as you hesitate, the troops don't move. But when the decision is given with conviction, your entire being, body, mind, and spirit, begins to work towards what has been commanded. Now, apply this to your own life. How many times have you known what you needed to do but paralyzed yourself trying to predict the future? Perhaps changing jobs, starting a business, ending a relationship, taking care of your health, or simply saying no to something that no longer made sense. Decision is always the starting point. When you decide with conviction, something invisible shifts within you. Your mind aligns, fear loses its grip, and circumstances begin to reorganize. It's not magic, it's focus. Your brain filters everything it perceives to confirm the order it has received. If you say, "I'll try," it will look for excuses. If you say, "I have decided," it will seek out pathways. There's a fascinating statistic from Columbia University showing how people who make quick, firm decisions are 60% more likely to achieve their long-term goals than those who live in doubt. This happens because indecision drains mental energy. It's like driving with the parking brake on. You move, but you get exhausted and don't get anywhere. Decision, on the other hand, releases energy. It's like a river finding its bed and finally being able to flow. Clarity generates movement, and movement builds confidence. That's why Hill said that decision is the first act of faith. The technique is simple, yet powerful. Write down on paper what you decide to change starting today. Be specific. Avoid "I want to improve my life" and write something concrete such as, "I decide to save 10% of everything I earn," or "I decide to exercise every day, even if only for 15 minutes. When the mind has a clear direction, it starts seeking opportunities that previously went unnoticed. It's like adjusting the focus on a lens. Suddenly, everything appears sharper. And when fear appears, because it always does, remember what Hill learned by observing the greats. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act in spite of it. Fear is the final obstacle before achievement. Whenever you feel fear, see it as a sign, It shows you're precisely at the edge of growth. To decide is to cross that line, even while trembling, because true failure isn't falling. It's staying still, watching life pass you by. When you finally tell yourself, with conviction, enough, I decide to change, and there's no turning back, the entire universe begins to move. Opportunities arise, people appear, doors open, and not because something magical happened, but because you finally gave a clear command to your mind and to the world about who you have chosen to be. Resilience is the point where life tests who you truly are. Everyone at some point faces the day they gave their all and still failed. The day when doors close, criticism surfaces, and the feeling of powerlessness seems unbearable. Most people give up here because no one truly prepares for the inevitable: failure, rejection, disappointment. But Napoleon Hill noticed something extraordinary. Great achievers didn't see failure as an end, but as fuel to grow stronger. It was precisely at that point of pain that true inner strength was born, the capacity to transform every fall into a stepping stone to the next level. Today, science confirms what Hill knew over a century ago. Researchers at the University of Pennsylvania discovered that resilient people not only achieve more goals, but are also happier and more satisfied with life. They don't run from pain. They use it as a tool for growth. This ability to see learning in adversity is the watershed between those who win and those who merely survive. Hill experienced this intensely during the Great Depression, when he lost virtually everything: fortune, security, and even the respect of many followers. Anyone else might have vanished in silence. But he rose again and contributed directly to one of history's most inspiring speeches by Franklin D. Roosevelt: "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself." This phrase wasn't just rhetoric. It was born from Hill's own experience with fear, ruin, and triumph. Now think about your own life. How many ideas did you abandon after the first no? How many times did you believe the universe was against you when in reality it was just a test of endurance? If you had kept going, where would you be now? Without resilience, every obstacle seems like a wall. With resilience, every obstacle becomes a ladder. This is precisely what differentiates those who achieve their dreams from those who stop halfway. Walt Disney proved this when he was fired for lack of creativity and saw his first studio go bankrupt. He could have given up then, but he used every defeat as a laboratory. He adjusted, refined, and persisted until he built an empire that changed the world. This is the power of refusing to be defeated. But resilience isn't about pretending nothing hurts. It's about acknowledging the pain, understanding what it's trying to teach you, and moving forward anyway. Hill said it's in that silent decision to keep going when everything seems meaningless that true transformation happens. When you don't give up, you start noticing small victories that previously went unnoticed. The people around you begin to respect you differently. Opportunities arise from unexpected places, and most importantly, you start believing that truly nothing can stop you. Not because everything became easy, but because you became someone difficult to knock down. Life will test you again and one more time, especially when you least expect it. But when you understand that every fall strengthens, every loss refines, and every pain shapes you, fear loses its grip. You discover that strength doesn't come from the absence of storms, but from the ability to build shelter while they rage. This is the essence of Hill's technique. Understanding that failure is part of the formula, not an error in the process. When the world tries to push you down, it is precisely at that point that the new version of you is being forged. Every blow can be a sentence or a stepping stone, and the difference lies only in your response. Choosing to rise one more time is the decision that separates the ordinary from the legendary. Because in the end, resilience isn't about resisting pain, but about using it as a tool to reinvent yourself and move forward, no matter how many times life tries to test you again. Everything you are capable of achieving begins with the image you hold of yourself. Napoleon Hill said that self-image is the invisible foundation of all success. It determines how far you believe you can go, how much you accept receiving, and how much you feel you deserve. This is why so many intelligent and talented people live below their true potential, because deep down, they carry a silent belief that they aren't good enough. They may dream big, but their minds, shaped by years of doubt and comparison, pull them back every time they try to climb a step. It's like running with an elastic band tied to your waist. The more effort they make to move forward, the stronger the pull that drags them back to the same spot. Your entire life, you've been programmed to see the world and yourself in a certain way. The comments you heard in childhood, teachers' criticisms, comparisons to others, past failures, all of this formed a mental image that, over time, came to define what you believe you're capable of achieving. And here's the point Hill insisted upon. If that image is small, limited, or negative, you will never be able to surpass the boundary it imposes, no matter how much effort you put in. Because the subconscious works faithfully according to what it believes to be true. If, deep down, you think you don't deserve to prosper, it will find 1,000 subtle ways to prove it. It will make you procrastinate, make mistakes in decisive moments, and attract people and situations that confirm this belief. Not out of malice, but because your mind constantly seeks consistency with the self-image you cultivate. Oprah Winfrey stands as a prime example of how changing one's self-image can alter destiny. She was born into circumstances that seemed a sentence to failure, extreme poverty, abuse, rejection. Everything pointed to her becoming just another tragic statistic. Yet while still young, she did something extraordinary. She decided to forge a new mental narrative about who she was. She began to envision herself as influential, confident, worthy of respect. She started speaking to herself as a powerful, capable individual. She visualized success long before any tangible sign suggested it was possible. And gradually, the world began to respond to the image she projected. This internal shift became an external magnet. Oprah didn't just transform her own life. She redefined what was possible for millions of people, proving what Hill always taught: you become exactly what you believe yourself to be. But changing your self-image isn't merely about repeating positive affirmations in front of a mirror. It's a continuous process of mental reconstruction. Hill often said the brain is like a garden. If you don't plant the right seeds, the weeds of old beliefs will take over. Therefore, every thought must be intentional. Every word you use to describe yourself is a brick in the construction of your identity. Uttering phrases like, "I can't do it," "That's not for me," or "I'm unlucky," reinforces the image of someone small, powerless, and ineffective. But when you start affirming with emotion, "I can," "I deserve," "I am capable," you are slowly reprogramming your belief system. This isn't magic, it's neuroscience. Researchers at Stanford University found that how a person perceives themselves alters how the brain reacts to challenges. Those who believe in their own growth activate areas linked to persistence and creativity. Conversely, those who see themselves as failures activate areas associated with fear and flight. Napoleon Hill often compared self-image to a thermostat. It regulates the level of success and happiness you're willing to accept. When life starts to offer you more than what this internal thermostat deems normal, you unconsciously self-sabotage to return to your comfort zone. This is why so many people earn money only to lose it, enter amazing relationships only to destroy them, or receive a great opportunity only to squander it. They simply don't feel worthy of it. Therefore, the first step towards true transformation isn't changing the world around you, but rather changing the image you see when you close your eyes. A powerful exercise Hill proposed was daily affirmation. Each morning, before starting your day, look at yourself and declare who you choose to be, not what you currently possess, but what you choose to manifest. Say aloud, "I am worthy of success. I am prosperous. I am disciplined. I am someone who achieves." Initially, your mind will resist. It will tell you it's a lie. But over time, repetition forges new neural connections. Your brain begins to accept this new identity and starts acting in accordance with it. You change what you believe is possible, and then the possible changes. When you decide to see yourself differently, the world begins to respond in kind. Opportunities arise not because the universe has changed, but because you've altered the filter through which you perceive it. Doubt loses its grip, courage blossoms, and suddenly what once seemed distant becomes second nature. Because ultimately, what the human mind can conceive and believe, and this certainly includes believing in oneself, can, without a doubt, be achieved. Having a clear purpose is like having a lighthouse lit in the darkness. It doesn't eliminate the storm, but it prevents you from getting lost within it. Napoleon Hill discovered this early in his journey when he met Andrew Carnegie. At that time, Hill was just a young reporter trying to make ends meet, penniless, with no status and no idea what he would do with his life. But Carnegie saw something special in him, a willingness to learn and the courage to dream big. He challenged him to dedicate the next 20 years to interviewing the world's most brilliant minds, Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, Alexander Graham Bell, to uncover the principles that made these men successful. That challenge became the purpose that guided Hill for over 2 decades. It was the fuel that kept him moving when everything seemed impossible, and it's the same for all of us. When purpose is strong, it becomes a shield against doubt, an energy that pulls you forward when fatigue tries to drag you back. Most people don't fail due to lack of talent, but because they don't know exactly what they want. They wake up, work, pay bills, survive, but without direction. It's like running a marathon without knowing where the finish line is. You exert effort, but you don't advance. Hill stated that the absence of a defined objective is one of the most common causes of failure, not because the person lacks capability, but because an undirected mind gets lost in distractions, fleeting desires, and contradictory emotions. When you define a clear purpose, something shifts in how you live. Decisions become simpler because they adhere to a single criterion. Does this bring me closer to what I want to build, or does it take me further away? This clarity conserves energy and sharpens focus. It's what scientists call selective attention, a brain mechanism that automatically begins to filter out everything that doesn't contribute to your objective. And the clearer your vision, the more your subconscious works to turn that vision into reality. This is why successful people often appear lucky. In reality, they simply know what they're looking for and thus perceive opportunities that others overlook. But purpose without discipline is merely a beautiful idea. Hill observed that the greatest winners weren't driven by momentary impulses, but by daily commitment. They acted with discipline, even when no one applauded them, even when enthusiasm waned. To discipline yourself is to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. It's easy to act when motivated, but true growth happens on the days when you don't want to do anything, and yet you still do. Because it's at that moment that you stop being controlled by emotions and become guided by decision. Thomas Edison is the perfect embodiment of this mindset. Before creating the electric light bulb, he failed thousands of times. Any ordinary person would have given up after the 100th attempt, but Edison famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. What kept him going was his purpose, the burning desire to illuminate the world. This purpose transformed frustration into fuel. Hill called this applied faith, believing so strongly in one's vision that the mind simply doesn't accept failure as an option. Now, imagine what your life would be like if you lived with this level of clarity and discipline. Each morning, you would know precisely why you're getting out of bed. Your actions would cease to be mere reactions and would become conscious movements towards something greater. Days would no longer feel like endless repetitions, but would become meaningful chapters in a story. And, interestingly, when you live with purpose, people notice. They sense there's something different about you. Your presence inspires, your energy is infectious, and doors begin to open. Not by chance, but because the world respects those who know what they want. But there's another crucial factor Hill emphasized that many overlook: your environment. You might possess purpose, discipline, and vision, but if you remain surrounded by people living in mental scarcity who complain, doubt, and ridicule progress, sooner or later, that energy will pull you down. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, Hill stated. This isn't a metaphor, it's science. Studies show that even financial behavior and happiness levels are influenced by one's social circle. If you associate with those content to merely survive, you'll find it normal not to prosper. But if you start to surround yourself with people who think big, challenge themselves, and evolve, your mind expands through osmosis. Changing your environment is often the most challenging step because it demands courage to move away from the familiar. But it's also the step that accelerates your entire transformation. Replace a conversation filled with complaints with an inspiring book. Exchange time spent with those who drain you for moments with those who uplift you. Follow mentors, even from afar, and feed your mind with content that constantly reminds you of what's possible. This is how you begin to shape not just your routine, but your destiny. And as you maintain this pattern, something extraordinary happens. Discipline ceases to be an effort and becomes a reflex. Small daily actions become automatic, like brushing your teeth. Consistency replaces oscillation. And it's at this point that success stops being a distant possibility and becomes a natural consequence. Because when purpose, discipline, and environment are aligned, you enter a state of flow, a mental and emotional harmony where everything seems to move with less resistance. It's in this state that life begins to transform rapidly. People call it luck, destiny, coincidence. But Hill referred to it as the law of vibration, the principle that everything in the universe responds to the frequency at which you operate. When your purpose is clear, your mind focused, and your actions consistent, you begin to vibrate at the same frequency as what you desire. And what once seemed distant begins, little by little, to draw closer to you. Therefore, if there's one thing you can do starting today, it's to define your why. Not a vague wish, but a real, specific, and emotional purpose. Something you'd be proud of when you look back on it in the future. Then commit to it daily with discipline, patience, and unwavering faith. Because the secret isn't about waiting for the perfect moment. The secret lies in becoming the right person, someone who acts even when the world hasn't quite caught on. Once this alignment occurs, no force can hinder your progress. A resolute mind, a purposeful heart, and a disciplined routine form the most potent combination imaginable for reshaping not just your life, but your entire destiny. True change begins the moment you decide to take control of your own mind. It's in that precise moment, when you consciously choose what to think, what to believe, and where to direct your energy, that the world around you starts to transform. Napoleon Hill's technique isn't solely about material success. It's about rebuilding yourself from within, aligning your resolve, resilience, self-image, and purpose until your mind becomes the perfect blueprint for the life you aspire to live. And that's precisely why the most crucial takeaway from this video isn't what you've heard, but what you choose to do with it from this moment forward. Because knowledge without application is merely information. But applied knowledge transforms into power. And that power is what empowers you to rewrite your story, one thought at a time, one action at a time. So if something within you has been awakened, if you feel an urge to act, to break free from the old, and to rebuild yourself, do not ignore that impulse. It's your potential knocking at the door, asking to be let in. Keep fueling that energy, because in the next video, which is appearing on your screen now, you'll climb another step on your transformation journey, expanding your wisdom and becoming 1% better than you are right now. Thank you for joining me so far. It's been an honor to walk alongside you through this phase of your evolution. I'll see you in the next video.